Hi and welcome to my channel. This is the first time I'm doing something like this, and I don't know, I think I've been wanting to do this for a long time now, and I think this will be a very good way to get out of my comfort zone. So hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Auri, I'm from Peru, and I will be doing this in English mostly because it's the best way to get to more people. I will try to post subtitles in every video in Spanish so everyone can see. That's the introduction here. I started at the beginning of this year a Bookstagram account and it went really well. I met a lot of people from everywhere in the world, and I think it's an amazing community. And I thought that maybe we could share this space where we can talk about books, so we can talk about movies, we can talk about everything really, but mostly this channel will be focused on books and what I've been reading and what I want to read and all those genres that I'm trying to explore this new year. Welcome, and you can subscribe and push the notification button so you don't miss every video that I will be posting. I will try to post once a week, but since this is a very new thing for me, I don't know how often that will be. So yeah, it depends on how much I will be reading also, because you never know. In this video, I will be talking about my top 10 reads of 2022. I won't be ranking them in any order, because I think all of these books are from different genres and from different topics, so I love them all in a very different way. They meant to me a lot in different aspects of my life. I love them, I really love them, but I couldn't rank them because I mean there's so many different genres. I don't think I can rank a literary fiction in the same way I can rank a fantasy book or a romance or rom-com. I don't know, I don't think I can do that. So I'm gonna be doing it in reading order, so there won't be a ranking system here. So my first read of the year that I rank 5 stars was Eyre. I've had this book for maybe a couple of years before I read it, and first I was very scared to read it because classics have this very complicated level of English for me, and since English is not my first language, I was very intimidated by this book. But once I started reading it, it became one of my favorites ever. I think the English is not that complicated at all, and the story is amazing. I think this character Eyre was way before of her time. She has these monologues that they just I don't know, they explain the level of, it's maybe like a hint of the beginning of feminism in back in the day, and I loved it. And the love story was also really beautiful. It's weird, of course. I mean, right now this will be so wrong on so many levels, but back then, I mean, I can understand that. I can really understand that, and I loved it. This was definitely one of my favorite books of the year, and definitely one of my favorite classics besides Pride and Prejudice. So if you wanna start reading classics, this is one of the best ones to start with, so I really recommend it, and especially if you like romance. So yeah, this is the first one on the list. Then the second one, and not less important, is The Invisible Life of LaRue. This was, I can say that this maybe is my favorite read of the year. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry for many people who don't like it. I'm sorry, but this has to be my number 1 read of the year. This book, I read it in a very vulnerable time. It was at the beginning of the year, I think at the end of January, and something happened and I decided I wanted to read it, and it was the best decision ever. All her journey was very painful and very interesting. I mean, I know why a lot of people don't like it. when I first started reading it, I wasn't expecting that much of a historical background. I was expecting more of her story, like personal story, and that's what I got. So I love that. And the twist at the end, if you've read it, you know, some people liked it, some people didn't. I actually really liked it. I was not expecting it. The end is a little bittersweet, but I think it was necessary, and I like sorry, spoilers maybe here, but I like that it had a kind of an open ending for me. Like, I love that. It's my favorite book of the year. This is always gonna stay with me. I'm sorry for the ones who didn't like it, but yeah, you know, not every book is for everyone, and I hope everyone respects that. I don't like to hate on books, by the way. I think that maybe because a book I didn't like, maybe just because I didn't like one book, it doesn't mean it's not good. It doesn't mean it's not worth reading for other people. I do believe that maybe each book is made for a certain group of people, and that's it. You know, sometimes they get famous, sometimes they don't, but that doesn't mean we have to hate on all the books that we don't like or that we didn't enjoy, because this is someone's work. Even if it's bad, even if you don't like it, someone took the time to write this because they felt like they needed to share something. So yeah, you always have to be respectful of that. And we go to the third one, and the third one is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That is, of course, one of my favorite authors ever. If you didn't know, my favorite book ever is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and this is the second book I've read of her. I don't know if it's the second one. Well, maybe of the four quartets of the most important of the Riva universe, let's say. This is the second book I've read. I read first The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo last year, and I read this one, I think maybe in April this year. Yeah, this is so good. The story of a rock band back in the 70s, 80s, 70s, 80s, I don't know, back in the 70s and early 80s. So I think the most interesting part of this book was the format in which it was written. I think the whole interview format was so interesting, and I've heard that the audiobook is way better to read or to listen because it has this whole documentary experience, and I haven't heard it yet. Maybe this year, because of the show coming out this year, I wanted to reread this, but maybe I will listen to the audiobook to see how much it's, yeah, to see how much I like it. But yeah, this is definitely on the list. I mean, Taylor Jenkins Reid, you never lose with her. Then we have Everything I Know About Love, which is a memoir from Dolly Alderton, and I read this in June, if I'm not wrong, and it changed my perspective in so many things, especially what we think love is and where do we think we can find love. And yeah, personally, it was one of my most most personal reads for me. And the fact that it was a non-fiction, which I don't usually read non-fiction, but last year I decided to read more of non-fiction, especially memoirs. I think memoirs are the best that work for me. If you want to start reading non-fiction, I really suggest you try different types. So maybe you can try memoirs, you can try self-help, or maybe, I don't know, whatever it is that you are studying. Some short books work well, but memoirs really work for me for non-fiction, and that was something that I want to start reading more this year. So yeah, this book is great. It has a little bit of a different perspective of life, and from someone who has been through so many things and different. I mean, it was emotional, it was funny, it was Very interesting. Even in that's something that for me it was really shocking also, that I related to her thoughts, to her feelings, but we have like a very different life experience. Yeah, my life is completely different from her, but the fact that we both thought the same things and feel the same way, I think that it's very interesting to find in this kind of books. Yeah, I really recommend it. This was a very great read for nonfiction. And my fifth read of the year was Carrie Soto is Back Again from Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was the last book from the Riva multiverse, if you can call it like that. And again, she doesn't miss. I mean, this is my number 2 of the year. Okay, I thought that maybe I could put it in the same level as The Invisible Life by LaRue, but it shocked me in different ways. I don't know, maybe it is. I'm still not sure. Okay, so maybe number 1 and number 1, I don't know, maybe they're both there. This book was very personal also, because the relationship Carrie had with her father very much resembles the relationship I have with mine, and it was so emotional. It was so emotional. We're very different, but I want to be a little more like her, and I know a lot of people. She is the kind of woman that not a lot of people like, and that doesn't mean it's a bad woman for the decisions she makes and for the way she wants to live her life and how her personality is built, or her character is built. But yeah, I related to that a lot also. Most of these books I love because I somehow found myself in the characters, or I want to be like them. And yeah, that's mostly the reasons why these books are meant so much to me. And I think that is the main reason some people like books, because they remind you of yourself, or they show you what you want to be, or motivate you to be. So yeah, Carrie Soto meant a lot to me, and she motivated me a lot. And yeah, it takes the number 5, but in reading order, not in ranking, but definitely number 1 or number 2 in my yearly favorites. So yeah. And number 6 on reading order is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Again, this book is so good. It's a romance, you all know that, and it has a very, again, independent, strong-minded woman that is Nora Stevens. I love her. I love the relationship. Of course, I love the romance, but I also love that she found someone that respected and supported the way she wanted to live. He didn't want to change her. He didn't want to make her change all of her life plan for him. And they both kind of work their way to be together and to fix their past traumas and to fix their past problems with themselves. And I think that's why I love these kind of romances, because they don't only focus on the, oh, I love you so much and I want to be together, but they focus on the backstory too. And you know, you can't be with someone if you don't fix yourself first. So these books, I love these kind of books. They are way more mature than what I used to read before. And I love that. These are great. Emily Henry writes great books. My favorite was Beach Read, because I read it last year. I read People We Met on Vacation and Beach Read last year, and Beach Read took the first place. But this one, I'm sorry, but this is my favorite of hers now. Beach Read is close by, but this is my favorite of hers, and I loved it. The next one is A Man Called Ulva. I think it's pronounced like that. If it's not, I'm sorry. I know it's not an English pronunciation, so, but I'm not sure where it is from. So yeah, A Man Called Uva by Fredrik Backman. I loved it. I adore it. It was so heartbreaking and so heartwarming at the same time, and I was crying probably since the beginning because it was so beautiful. The story of this very grumpy old man that lives in this neighborhood, and he decides I don't know, he's alone, he doesn't feel like he wants to keep living, but he founds this amazing family that moves in the same neighborhood, and he founds this new family. It's that trope, found family. If you can name, if you want me to name tropes in this book, it's found family. And he is adorable with this new family, and there's so many things that happen, and it's so funny. And yeah, I was crying. If you wanna cry but like a warm feeling of crying, read this book because it's so amazing. I absolutely loved it. Since I've read this book, I decided to read all of Backman's works. So I read last year Anxious People, and I loved it. It was one of my favorites, and this one was amazing. So if you want to start reading Backman, I very much recommend this one. It's very heartwarming, and it's funny, and it's emotional, and yeah, you're gonna cry. If you don't cry, well, I don't know what you want me to tell you, but yeah, it's really cool. Then we have Love and Other Words. This was, I think it was my third or fourth Christina Lauren book. I think I've read Hazel and Joe's Guys to Not Dating and Roomies, and I like them, but look, I don't remember anything from them, and I think that's something that you have to I don't know, I think remembering a book after 1 year or 2 years, it means you like them, right? I don't know, but yeah, a friend of mine really wanted me to read this book, and I said, okay, I'm gonna give them a chance again. And yeah, this book is amazing. It's a trope that I don't usually enjoy that much, that it's a friends, like childhood friends to lovers, and also second chance, and like childhood friends to lovers, to strangers, and to lovers again, something like that. But it has this backstory that just shocks you at the end, and it's so good, and it's so emotional, really. I absolutely loved it. I cry a lot, and the last line of the book is just, it's perfect. So yeah, this is a great romance book, one of my favorites of this year. So yeah. Then my ninth favorite read of the year, again in reading order, is A Little Life. And yeah, this is gonna be weird, maybe, because I find it weird for some people to say that they like this book, because it's just a lot of traumatizing stuff here. But the writing is beautiful, and the story, it's painful and it's traumatizing. And even if a lot of people categorize this as a sad book, I don't think it's a sad book just because it has sad topics, and I don't think they are sad topics. I think they are more infuriating. I don't know, I didn't cry until the very last like 50 pages, because most of this book I was just angry. I was angry of everything that happens, because yeah, I know this is a fiction story, but this happens in the real life. This happens to real children, and we don't really know what to do. We don't do anything, and it keeps happening, and that's something that it really annoys me. It really like infuriates me. So yeah, I wasn't crying most of the time. I was just angry. It took me a month and something to finish this book, because I knew it was really affecting my mood every time I read a chapter. and I didn't want to be cranky or anything, because when I read, like, I wanted to be my bubble and then get out of my bubble, but it was really hard to do this with this book. So yeah, of course, if you heard about this book and you're interested in reading, I'm not recommending this because I don't think this is a book that you recommend to people, but it's a very interesting story, and I think people that can handle it should read it, and maybe we can all try to do something to change this world, because yeah, this is very hard. It was very hard to read, and it was very, very traumatizing, but yeah, I love the characters and you get really attached to them, and yeah, it's a good book. I don't recommend it. If you can handle it, check the trigger warnings and try to read it, then it's on your own hands. But yeah, this is my 9th read of the year. I'm going to take out one romance that I put originally in my post and put Babel or Babel, I don't know how do you say it. But yeah, this is a story about college students that are translators, and they are picked, like especially picked from foreign countries, and let's say they are adopted to a English family or to an English man specifically, and they raise them to be English people, and then study and work in this university and work for the crown. And yeah, this is a big criticism to colonialism, and I loved it. I think it was well written. I think it was a very well executed story. I've read a few reviews that they're not bad reviews, by the way, but they're mostly saying that they didn't really connect with the characters, that they didn't find personalities in them, and that the story was a little bit stretched. And yes, maybe the story at the half, it was a little bit stretched in my opinion also. It took me a while to read it also, but the part of the characters' personalities, I think it's not very relevant. I think the personalities of the characters are well, not well, but are enough described in the book. I mean, to what we need them to know. I mean, to what we need to know for the plot. I don't care what they like to eat. I don't care what they like to do on their free time. I don't care what they I don't know, who are they in love with. I really don't care, because the story is not to know them personally, it's to know the cause they are fighting for. They want to change how they are treating the colonies, how are they treating foreign people. Yeah, me knowing who are they, you know, in their free time, it's not relevant. I think we know enough of them to work with the story, and I love them. I didn't expect to cry, but I did a little bit at the end, because yeah, I mean, as a person of color myself, I'm a Latina woman, I very much relate to that feeling. So even now, we're still living in a world with a little bit of that, not a little bit, a lot of that. And yeah, I think this had to be in my top 10, because I mean, it deserved it. That's all for today. Those are my top 10 reads of 2022. Thank you for watching. If you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe so you can watch more of this. I know I'm a little bit rusty here, but talking to a camera is very weird to me, so I'm hoping I get more easy with it in the long run. So yeah, thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.